whatever the Egyptians were doing, I think they were the most advanced civilization that ever existed. I don't think we could do what they did. The precision in which they built it, I really don't think we can do that. Just the symmetry of the faces of the statues is unparalleled, and they're immense. These are monstrously huge, perfectly symmetrical faces.
Right.
Their temples are insanely intricate.
They were incredibly advanced.
Incredibly advanced.
With math, with science, with technology.
Certainly with geometry. 20-ton gigantic stone blocks that were taken from a mountain 500 miles away. And no one has any idea how the fuck they got them.
Nobody has any clue.
No guesses.
Right.
There's some guesses about, oh, maybe the river system was different back then. Whatever. How are you getting that 50-ton chunk of granite out of a fucking mountain and moving it down, even with modern equipment? How are you getting it over the mountain?
Did ancient Egyptians build the pyramids, or aliens did? Welcome back, you beautiful Earthlings. Kindly make sure to hit the subscribe button for more conspiracy theories. And let's get into it.
In 2017, a group of geologists hit the headlines officially to announce the discovery of Zealandia, a 1.89 million square mile continent underwater near New Zealand. But for some reason, when you search it in search engines and encyclopedias, it still doesn't show up. So Zealandia is to the right of Australia, and essentially it's under New Zealand. In 2017, scientists proved that Zealandia is actually a continent. Basically, the whole country of New Zealand is the top of a mountain range. And so the whole continent of Zealandia sits under about 6,000 feet of water all around New Zealand. This is the whole area of Zealandia, and as you can see, it's almost as big as Australia, which is huge. It's huge.
It's bigger than Australia.
I've read every fucking theory on how they built those pyramids. The Great Pyramid of Giza has 2,300,000 stones in it. Some of them they weigh between 2 and 80 tons. Some of them are cut from a quarry that's hundreds of miles away. These things that pyramid is shaped perfectly. If you fucked up a quarter inch there, a half inch here, by the time you get to the top, that thing's a mess. But meanwhile, it's not. It's perfect. It's also perfectly aligned to true north, south, east, and west. And they're not really sure how old it is. They think they date it to 2,500 BC. But that's just because of organic particles that they pulled from inside stones. But they also say that they probably could have sealed those stones and resealed those stones over time. You're dealing with a gigantic mystery of unfathomable proportions.
2.3 million. And each stone weighing 2 to 80 ton. That's bonkers.
Simpsons predictions for 2024 are truly chilling. In an episode dating back to 1998, the show hinted at an economic crisis, a nuclear war, and the death of the leader of the United States, all happening in the same year. The episode in question, titled Bart to the Future, provides a glimpse into the future where Lisa Simpson has become the President of the United States. In a conversation with her team, Lisa mentions that the previous administration led by President Biden left behind budget problems and quite a mess. Later in the episode, a news bulletin reports a nuclear clash with an unspecified country, resulting in massive destruction and chaos. While the idea of a nuclear war and an economic crisis is quite frightening, we can certainly hope that these Simpsons predictions do not come true. However, it's hard to ignore the show's track record in predicting major events, which leads us to wonder what else they might have predicted for the future. And precisely, one of the latest episodes of The Simpsons contains an even more terrifying prediction than anything they have predicted before.
There is a war ongoing, and there are protests in every state of US, in colleges and universities. That's something.
Have you heard the theory of the Titanic and the Federal Reserve? Well, here it goes. So on the Titanic, there's some extremely wealthy passengers like J.P. Morgan, John Rockefeller, and the Rothschilds. But then you have Jacob Astor, the wealthiest man in the world at the time. He owned about 40% of all mortgages, and he was a Freemason who was very opposed to the idea of a central bank. Whereas J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, and Rothschild strongly supported the idea of a central bank. So Jacob Astor was the only one standing in the way of a central bank at the time. Coincidentally, the morning the Titanic was supposed to set sail, J.P. Morgan, some Rothschilds, and others quietly exited the ship without any explanation. 5 days later, Titanic slams into an iceberg and it starts to sink. And even though Jacob Astor is the wealthiest man in the world, he still can't find a seat in a lifeboat, and he ends up sinking with the ship. Shortly after, these guys become the wealthiest men in the world, and without Jacob Astor standing in their way, the next year in 1913, on Jekyll Island in Georgia, the Federal Reserve Act was signed into law, paving the way to print money out of thin air and completely control our monetary system. Was this a coincidence or a conspiracy?
It definitely wasn't a coincidence.
Want to know what you missed while you're distracted by Jeffrey Epstein documents and G-Side in the Middle East and aliens in Miami? One of the world's most infamous conspiracy theories? Stop being a theory. And I am talking about the McDonald's ice cream conspiracy. And oh boy, is it bigger and more sinister than you might think. And this case is direct evidence, proof even, that corporations engage in conspiracies for their benefit against us. And this one's fun and it's spicy. So I'm going to briefly catch you up on the basics of the McDonald's ice cream conspiracy theory, and then I'm going to fill you in on the new lawsuit that sheds light on what's really going on. And this one goes right to the top, to emails sent by CEOs. So I'm sure you know that McDonald's is famous for having their ice cream machines down all the time. And it became so common throughout the 2010s that it became a meme. Mainstream news outlets started reporting on it, and people all over the internet started speculating on it. See, McDonald's ice cream maker is made by this company called Taylor, who's been making McDonald's equipment since McDonald's was founded. And if you own a McDonald's, you are required to use this ice cream machine. Johnny Harris made a great video about this a couple of years ago. Highly recommend you watch it, and it'll catch you up to speed to this new lawsuit that just came out right at the end of last year.
Mind-numbing 100-page instruction manuals for ice cream makers. I started talking to McDonald's franchise owners and managers, and yes, it turns out there is something really weird going on.
And when Johnny read through all those service manuals and read through a bunch of the financials, he discovered something interesting. In 2017, Taylor claimed that 25% of their revenues comes from recurring service, i.e. fixing the machines. According to the stats in this report, that would be $78.75 million a year. But in another report from the company, he found them claiming that actually they make $170 million a year just from maintenance and repair. The entire business model of this company is to put out a faulty product that franchisees are required to use and then to charge hefty fees to repair it constantly. But that is just the start of this. Because a startup named Kitsch actually designed a product that you can plug into this ice cream machine, and it will hack the ice cream machine's computers and fix the problems for you. It connects to a phone app so you don't have to deal with their stupid little screen, and you can see exactly what's wrong and fix it without calling the repairman. And you can imagine how Taylor felt about that. And this is where we go into straight up conspiracies. Not conspiracy theories. I'm about to read from court documents. So here's a lawsuit filed in 2021 where Kitsch sued this dude who's a McDonald's franchise owner and laid out the dirt. This case is about corporate espionage and the extreme steps one manufacturer, Taylor, has taken to conceal and protect a multi-million-dollar repair racket. Kitsch soon uncovered a repair racket whereby Taylor designed flawed code that caused the machines to malfunction. So Kitsch designed this revolutionary new technology that would fix this problem, and it was worth millions of dollars, and they had to test it out on actual McDonald's machines. But they knew that various companies would try to steal their data, so they created a whole bunch of legal firewalls and NDAs and were very careful about who got their hands on this new Kitsch product. And it was for good reason, because Taylor tried to steal it 3 times. First, one of Taylor's distribution managers tried to purchase a device, but Kitsch's security protocol flagged and blocked the purchase. Then, a lawyer employed by Taylor's outside counsel attempted to purchase the Kitsch solution. Kitsch blocked the second attempt. After that, 2 private investigators associated with Taylor used aliases and dummy email addresses to get their hands on the device. Once again, Kitsch canceled the orders. They literally hired corporate spies to use fake names to try to get their hands on this software. And when all of that didn't work, they found a McDonald's franchise owner to collaborate and collude with. Everything changed after Tyler Gamble, a major McDonald's franchise and leader of the group that works to introduce new products into McDonald's restaurants, enrolled in the Kitsch trial. Gamble approached Kitsch and explained that he was the head of McDonald's equipment team, and at first, Gamble appeared to support Kitsch's mission. Kitsch is informed and believes that this was a ruse. Now we get to the parts of these documents from the court that are fully redacted. Like, I spent the first month of 2024 reading Jeffrey Epstein documents, and McDonald's documents are just as redacted. I think this is because it's proprietary information about Kitch's software inside of here. But anyways, back to this franchise owner, Gamble, who got into the Kitch trial and got his hands on one of their machines and then started using it in conjunction with Taylor, the company, to reverse engineer their technology and to make their own product. During the case of discovery, Kitch later examined that machine and discovered that Gamble's Brownsville device was connected to the internet. Again, if they had taken it off the internet for a long time to do things to it, who knows? And when it connected back to the internet in 2021, its SD card was 90% full. The device log indicated that someone had been accessing the Kitch Solutions device, and the device had been powered on and used for weeks after going offline. However, according to the device log, the cables were disconnected periodically, so the device could not retrieve information or connect to the internet, i.e., they took this device by stealing it from the trial, and then they unplugged it from the internet so it couldn't tell Kitch what they were doing, and then they worked on it in secret to try to reverse engineer it. And then lo and behold, a new product hit the market from Powerhouse Dynamics that was basically an exact replica of Kitch, but not as good. And surprise, surprise, Powerhouse Dynamics is owned by Middleby Corporation, the same company that owns Taylor. You know, this Taylor that makes the ice cream machines? Probably just a coincidence. And now we're caught up to what just happened. But what's the new scoop, you ask? See, back when Kitch was gaining traction, right before their trials got infiltrated, McDonald's had sent out this email warning franchise owners not to use Kitch because it wasn't safe. This was the email where they threatened to void all warranties if you used a Kitch device. They said that it was allegedly really, really dangerous and it's going to turn on while you're repairing it and it'll rip your hands to pieces, despite the machine itself having fail-safes in place to not allow it to turn on when it's open for repair. And then in all bold, they said, as such, McDonald's strongly recommends that you remove the Kitch device from any machines and discontinue all use, and is reminding you da-da-da-da-da, you get the point. But as it turns out, they uncovered an email from the CEO of the Taylor parent company, Middleby, the guy in charge, that was straight up mafia code language for someone killed this product. Quote, not sure if there's anything we can do to slow up the franchise community on the other solution, i.e. Kitch. Not sure what communications from either McD or Mid can or will go out. Like, who knows? Like, maybe it would be a shame if something happened to the other solution. And just about 2 weeks after he sent that email out, Donald sent out this email. This is the guy, the CEO of Middleby, Dingleberry, I don't know the name, whatever the name of the company is. He gets paid $9.5 million a year as the CEO. And it's looking like Kitch might win their $900 million lawsuit against McDonald's because they collaborated with this scumbag at the expense of all the franchise owners to the tune of millions of dollars of repair money every year, to the tune of an average of 15% of all McDonald's ice cream machines being out at any given time.
Again, is this a deep conspiracy? Is there like secret backdoor deals going on? No.
See, Johnny Harris and a lot of other mainstream journalists love to do this thing where they show you every part of a conspiracy theory and then they try to be like, see, it's not a conspiracy. It's just normal business. But actually, Johnny, it's looking like there are secret backdoor deals going on. Actually, this is the definition of a conspiracy. This is called corporate espionage, and it's a tactic regularly engaged in to take out competitors, to monopolize markets, and to screw everyone over for the corporation to make more money. So, just one more reason not to buy McDonald's.
I mean, I know for sure that these McDonald's ice cream machines, they never work. They're always out of order, no matter where you go. So the Taylor was providing the ice cream machines to the McDonald's that weren't working. And that was intentional. Why? Because they wanted hundreds of millions of dollars on the maintenance of it. So, when the Kitch provided a solution, they dismissed it, the Taylor I mean, and they ended up with a new machine of their own, Middleby. And Middleby wasn't as good as Kitch, so they would still get hundreds of millions of dollars in the maintenance of it. That's true corporate espionage. On a simple term, big corporation acting as leeches.
There's a conspiracy theory about your feet. Supposedly this is what our feet are supposed to look like if we stayed connected to Earth. And this is what they look like now that we wear shoes, right? Some people believe that shoes are actually damaging our feet, making them more narrower and pushing our toes more together. They believe that this messes up our electrical receptors that connect us to the Earth. And that society and our government have been forcing us to wear shoes everywhere, you know, no shoes, no service, to disconnect us from planet Earth, putting rubber between our feet and the ground. Supposedly this is keeping us sick and stops us from receiving the benefits of Mother Earth. And apparently they call it the heel of your foot because once it touches land, it heals you and stops inflammation. And there are some studies that actually support this. There's this thing called grounding, and some believe these are the benefits to our bodies from grounding. Is it weird that we run in a society that makes us wear shoes that cover up our feet to protect them? Or are people just reaching and shoes are actually protected? What do you think? One big conspiracy? Or do you think there's some truth to it? Are we humans really that connected to planet Earth?
I mean, I can walk all day on grass without having any shoes, but in everyday life, walking without shoes? I mean, that's pretty weird.
You are being lied to because no one has ever been in space. There is a theory that suggests we have never explored space due to a transparent barrier surrounding our world. Beyond this barrier, there is no open space or vacuum, but rather water. It may all sound crazy, but in 1962, the US government detonated a few nuclear bombs in the sky, allegedly to test the atmosphere's reaction to their explosion. So they want us to believe. However, some claim that they were actually attempting to see if they could break through this invisible barrier. Ironically, this program was called Operation Fishbowl. This theory is fueled by the observation that many have noticed stars appear to twinkle or shimmer through a liquid-like substance when viewed with the naked eye or through a camera. Rocket enthusiasts have also noted that the rockets we have launched seem to encounter an invisible ceiling, creating an effect similar to what one would observe in water.
Illuminati doesn't control the world because nobody's that organized.
But did you ever see that Bohemian Grove thing? That is absolutely 100% real. No, it's not. So what, Brian? It's people dressing up like wizards, burning an effigy in front of an owl god. It's people at the highest levels of banks. It's all these different famous people. There's a bunch of crazy, really rich, influential people that went to that Bohemian Grove and dressed up like druids and they chanted things. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, I saw it.
You are.
You haven't seen it. He hasn't seen it. He hasn't seen it. I'm sorry. He hasn't seen it.
Set us free. You shall burn me once again.
They're chanting crazy shit and they're putting hoods on and they're burning an effigy that's supposed to be a sacrificial person, but it's straw in a bundle. They talk about the owl god Moloch. Okay, these are multi-millionaires.
I mean, why would you worship an owl god in the Bohemian Grove?
Craziest conspiracy theory that you believe in?
My conspiracy that I believe in is I think the world's flat. Nobody can tell me otherwise, and I'm going to stay true to my word.
Tupac is still alive.
I don't believe that John F. Kennedy was shot the way they say he was. I'm not a believer in the, magic bullet. It went this way, all of that stuff. As a matter of fact, in high school, I had history class, and we had to make theme parks that were history themed. And one of my rides was called the Magic Bullet, and you sit down in a bullet and go crazy, but I got in trouble and they didn't like that, so yeah.
I believe in that there is a world underneath the Earth's surface, so like multiple worlds, like layers of civilization that we don't know about.
Only that girl's argument makes sense.
We're in the middle of the desert and we look and there's just like this staircase that goes to nowhere.
Nothing?
And like I see it and
in
Kim
the middle of the desert.
I see it and Kim sees it and we're both like, we get this really bad, weird feeling and we're like, we need to go back and like find out what that is.
It's like an 8-mile city called Felicity and only a population of 7 or something like that.
This is in Arizona?
This is in Arizona.
And this really rich guy, he's a
Rothschild.
A Rothschild. He bought this town of Felicity and named it after his wife, Felicity.
Wait, is this real?
Who we think we ran into.
Can we make sure that this is real? They offer tours of this place.
Oh, we did a tour. It was horrifying.
Why?
They tried to get us into this. They put us in this pyramid.
They made us to make a wish.
They made us try to get us in the center of the pyramid, in the center of the thing, put our foot in the middle, save this thing, and make a wish, and then sign a contract. And I was like, and we were like, I'm not doing that. And she was like, well, it's the only part of the tour you have to do.
And they go
to do the tour. And that's when we said we don't want to do the tour anymore. We're gonna leave. And she was pissed.
I mean, why would they make you sign a contract? That's sus.
Favorite new conspiracy theory that I've been exposed to about the Sphinx's head. Okay, I've never been to Giza. I've never been to the pyramids. I have not seen them in person. I've only seen pictures, and I've never questioned them because, I just accept. Obviously, Ancient Aliens goes over Egypt and the pyramids a ton in their millions of seasons, but I was watching this episode where they sort of just mentioned something I had never heard before, which was, what the hell is wrong with the Sphinx's head in Giza? The body is huge. It's a lion. And then he's got this tiny ass head. And Egyptians never made anything look like that. Everything is like super beautiful and
I know
proportionate.
what you're talking about, yeah.
So here, I'll show you this picture. This is the picture of the Sphinx.
It looks like the dog sitting down with their. It looks like a dog, the pose it's in, but it's.
Well, hold on.
I'm just trying to describe
because
it
it's widely accepted that it's a lion's body with a pharaoh head.
Yeah, and they're so they're sitting like this. Okay.
Well, yeah, you can Google a picture of the Sphinx.
Yeah, but it takes at least a couple femtoseconds to Google it.
but look at the size of his head.
Yeah, he's in like tiny head mode.
He's in tiny head mode.
Yeah.
He's in tiny head mode.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from ancientpages.com. I have the link here. Here are his, I don't have the name of the writer. He's from that website. Here are his gripes with, and he's been there.
The head size.
Not that you need to go there in order to see it. The back is flat. Whoever saw, no, what?
Sorry, I want to reference. I'm just going to look at my phone.
Yeah, the back is flat.
Okay.
Whoever saw a lion with a flat back, no big chest, and no mane. The Sphinx is sitting in a deep hole in the ground. Why is that? Why is it not sitting somewhere up high so that it can show off? There is a ruined temple right in front of the Sphinx with a wall practically up against its nose. No door in that wall. Why obstruct the view of the Sphinx from the front like that? And if the temple was for worshiping the Sphinx, why is there no access from the temple to the Sphinx so that you can't even get to it? The pit in which the Sphinx sits seems to be deeply eroded, as if by flows of water. What caused all that? It looks as if water has poured down the sides. On the other hand, there is no such vertical erosion patterns on the Sphinx itself, which instead has clear horizontal erosion patterns. How can these two different patterns at right angles to each be reconciled? And what could possibly have caused either of them? So here's that person's theory, because apparently there's been some talk of ancient rain that has caused this erosion of the lion of the Sphinx.
Yeah.
This person says, I do not believe that the Sphinx is 12,500 years old, nor do I believe in ancient rain. I do believe that the Sphinx is older than conventionally believed, but I do not believe it is thousands of years older or anything of that kind. I do believe there is water erosion at the Sphinx site, but I do not believe it had anything to do with ancient rain, nor do I believe that there's anything to be eroded at the time any ancient rain fell. The water of the Nile in those days, at the time of the inundation once a year, which no longer happens because of the Aswan Dam, came right up to the edge of the Sphinx temple, where there are even quays in front of it. I don't know. What's a quay? I don't know what that is. I'm so very sorry. So what I believe happened was that the water of the Nile was let into the Sphinx pit, which I now call the Sphinx moat, by some simple water-raising devices led along the narrow channel between the Sphinx Temple and the Valley Temple, the two structures in front of the Sphinx. And its flow was controlled by a series of sluices and water gates. I don't know what sluice is either. I feel terrible. The reason why the temple wall is in front of the Sphinx is to act as the fourth barrier to the water. The reason why there is no door in the wall is because it would have let the water out. The horizontal erosion in the side of the Sphinx, where it's not covered by restoration stones, is because the Sphinx is sitting in the middle of a moat filled with water. The vertical erosion on the sides of the pit, especially on the south side, is because of the continual dredging of the moat due to the wind-blown sand accumulating there. Every time the moat was dredged, water poured down into torrents onto the sides, leading to vertical erosion, accentuating by the natural cavities in the limestone bedrock.
I mean, the mystery of the Sphinx is just as like pyramids. The precision, the accuracy, the structure, the architecture. Everything's just so precise.
Color blue was never written down.
Weird.
In like all this, like blue was never a word.
Weird.
They didn't have a word for that color?
No.
Okay.
When they would describe like the ocean and stuff like that, they would describe it as like green. What? And yeah. And so the theory is if you can't connect a word with a color, can you not see that color? Because your brain, and so they did an experiment.
That's crazy.
They did an experiment in this tribe in somewhere in Africa. It was like the Bush people, and they also have never heard the word blue. And so they gave this graph, and it's this graph of like 12 squares, and they're all green, right? And then there's one that's like a bluish green, very different. Like all of us would be like, oh yeah, that one's different. And they had these people look at it, and they were staring at it, and it took them so long to figure out which color was different because they don't know what to look for in the blue. They're like, find the one that's different. It was weird.
I mean, to be honest, it doesn't even make sense. The name of the color doesn't even make a difference. Even a slight difference. It's your eyes what can differentiate between the colors.
Oh, come on inside! Carly!
Is it a Bigfoot? I don't think so. That's clearly fake. Look at the face. Look at the face. A 101%, it's fake.
Project Bluebeam. By far the scariest years we may see. This conspiracy achieved its status in 1994 by a book that was written by Serge Monast. In the book, the writer describes how the United Nations, in collaboration with NASA's technology, will unite the whole world under a new false religion. But how? There will be, supposedly, an alien invasion, which is all part of the whole show, of course. And one day, a hero, a god, will come from the skies and destroy these aliens. And us, human beings, we will not believe our own eyes and start to worship this god. Whatever this god orders will happen. One world order. This is called the Project Bluebeam. Now, I don't believe that they have the technology that is capable of deceiving us yet, but in the near future, they might very well be able to make them. If you are a Muslim or a Christian, this whole show must ring a bell. This is the person we have been warned about more than 1,000 years ago. If this happens, this is the Dajjal, the Antichrist. Be prepared.
Conspiracy time. I believe that some very heavily guarded secrets are located inside state and national parks. Hear me out. So I'm a supervisor at a state park. I have keys to almost every building. I have access code to almost every gate. I have access to places in the park that staff aren't allowed to go, and I have access to the park where general public is not allowed to go. You cannot fly drones over top this park, as well as many other parks. There is a very heavy undercover presence here, and I know that for a fact. There has been numerous times where large portions of the park were shut down due to archaeological reasons, and there has been numerous instances where certain parking lots were completely shut down and filled with National Guard and military vehicles. There are animals back here that are not supposed to be here. Like last year, I actually saw a lemur in the state park in Florida. There are reports of exotic animals that are not supposed to be here. When they're reported to us, we are told to tell them that is because there is exotic breeders just outside the park and sometimes those animals get out. Is that true? I don't know. Going down the rabbit hole in the state parks and out in the wilderness, there have been reports of staircases. Just random staircases out in the forest. Yeah, staircases. Leading to nowhere. Look it up. So yeah, I believe that there's things being hidden back here that they don't want us to know about. What are your thoughts?
The hidden mystery of the park.
Dude, the Boeing whistleblower just turned up not alive. You know how Boeing's planes have been falling apart mid-air for the last year, like doors coming off, tires falling off mid-flight? Well, it turns out that this guy, John Barnett, who spent almost a decade as the quality manager for a plant making the 787 Dreamliner, one of the problem childs of Boeing, well, he retired in 2017, and he's been taking legal action against them ever since. He's been alleging things like when a plane isn't getting built fast enough, they'll tell their dudes just to go and get scrap from the scrap bin, like broken parts and parts that didn't pass inspection, just slap them on there so the plane gets done in time. He also claimed that up to 1/4 of the oxygen masks would fail if actually deployed, plus a number of other allegations that Boeing obviously denied. And then he wound up not alive in his truck in a car park on the 9th of March from a, quote, self-inflicted wound. But the spooky part is what he did right before that happened. Because see, this legal battle's been going on for years now, but just this last week, he gave a formal deposition in which he was questioned by Boeing's lawyers. So Boeing's lawyers just asked him a whole bunch of questions under oath about what he knows. And then that same week, he turns out to not know anything anymore. Right before he was due to undergo further questioning on Saturday. So what did they find out that he found out that now we're not going to find out? I mean, allegedly, obviously. If it was like an accidental death, like a car crash or something, you might be able to go coincidence. But like, who fights a legal battle for years and years and years, and then the year when Boeing's problems are all coming to light and proving you right, then you decide to off yourself? Like, once like the world is like totally turning to your side, then you're over it and you're gonna just quit? I mean, really? So I don't know what's going on, but puts on Boeing.
I mean, it was supposed to happen. They always do this to whistleblowers.
So TikTok star William Knight says on his TikTok that he is drowned. And today, all of his fans are left confused and scared after reading this post. Now, for those of you who don't know who he is, he has 1.6 million followers on TikTok, 145,000 followers on Instagram, and he has a brand of what's called spiritual content. And he often does breathing exercises, meditations, and also helps people align with their destiny and with their dreams through manifestation. So what I would like to say is, this is what I think. So I think that it's just a hoax in order to gain more followers or to get exposure, because his name is one of the highest trending right now. So he's accomplished what he was trying to do, and he's also known for his style. And I've always liked his wide brim hat, and he does have a pretty nice style, but I do not agree with the spiritualism that he uses and influences people on his page, because it's witchcraft. For those of you who do not know, it is a form of witchcraft. So if the guy indeed has passed away, if William Knight passed away, my condolences to him, to his family, and to his fans. But I think it's just a tactic that he's using to get his name trending on TikTok for people like me to make videos about him. But for those of you, I do not agree with his spiritualism.
Well, apparently, he's alive. And he posted an AI image, so people thought that he drowned. But he didn't drown. I mean, these people can do anything for a bunch of followers.
Bob Ross could actually be a serial killer. As we all know, Bob Ross is a world-famous painter who is known for his gentle and calm demeanor when he paints. But many people theorize that Bob Ross might not be as innocent as he seems. Many people believe that Bob Ross has a dark side that he tries to hide with his calm and innocent personality that he portrays. Many people believe this because some of the landscapes that Bob Ross paints are oddly familiar to crime scenes where dead bodies have been found. Like, for example, there's a painting that Bob Ross named Happy Little Accidents. The painting coincidentally matches up to where authorities found 5 female bodies that were half-eaten and deceased. And there have been more instances of this, like a painting that Bob Ross named Betrayal and another one that he named Greed. Both of these paintings look identical to crime scenes where dead bodies have been found with missing limbs. And due to all the evidence, many people speculate that Bob Ross was a serial killer that painted the locations of where he buried his victims. But what do you think? Was Bob Ross a serial killer?
A24's dream scenario. Have you heard the conspiracy?
No, I haven't.
So in 2006, this patient goes to a psychiatrist and says he's been having these reoccurrent dreams where he sees a specific man, draws a picture of this man and says that he's never seen him in his entire life. Patient leaves. Another patient comes in, sees the drawing on the psychiatrist's desk, and says, I just saw that guy in my dream. Also, never seen this person in real life. So now the psychiatrist is like, what is going on? So he sends it to some of his colleagues in the field who also have patients with recurring dreams. After a few months, it turns out that several of his colleagues have patients who have also seen this man. So now the psychiatrist is super curious. He makes a website called thisman.org. It's still a live website that you can go and check out. And from 2006 to now, over 8,000 people have claimed to have seen this man in their dream, but have no connection to each other and have never seen this person in real life. If you've seen A24's dream scenario or heard about that movie, it's almost identical in concept. So the conspiracy is that A24 took it from this real life story, this man.
Nah, no way this real. No way. It can't be real.
There are people living inside of the Earth. It's true. New information from NASA states that there is a large ocean beneath the Earth's crust, after scientists detected movement below the surface. Around 500 miles below, a large supply of water has been found stored in a rock named ringwoodite. But it gets even crazier. Scientists say that this rock is so huge that it contains 3 times the amount of water on the Earth's surface. This causes many to believe that there is more down there than we originally thought, possibly even civilizations. While the news of this discovery was over 10 years ago, it was never talked about. Is the government hiding this information from us? What do you think?
I mean, there are still people who think that some people live inside the earth.
Do you know who the Statue of Liberty actually is?
No.
Lucifer. The Statue of Liberty has 7 points on its crown because he indulges in all the 7 sins of the world. And on top of that, it's holding a torch representing the light bearer, Lucifer.
Isn't it supposed to be representative of freedom?
But freedom of what?
I don't know.
Exactly. It's freedom from God. It's the Luciferian agenda that's being played out for centuries now.
There's a conspiracy that in the 1800s, an ancestor of the Kardashians sacrificed her soul to 4 witches so that all the women in her bloodline would always have fame, success, and beauty. But on the flip side, every man in their lives would suffer because of this. Kylie literally said it herself.
Every male figure that comes and dates a Kardashian, their life kind of just goes downhill after that.
Rob Kardashian going from model/actor to having severe depression and not being able to leave his house. Scott Disick, a very successful businessman, to struggling with alcoholism and depression. Lamar Odom, successful NBA player, to dealing with addictions and overdoses. Travis Scott, one of the most successful artists in the world, has the most disastrous concert in the world, hasn't released an album in years, and has many lawsuits against him. Bruce Jenner, who transitions to Caitlyn and gets ostracized by her whole community. And then we have Kanye, and I think we all know about Kanye.
Well, basically, the Kardashians are cursed.
So I found out who actually owns BlackRock, but there's something really weird about it. Because by now we know that BlackRock is in the top 3 shareholders of basically every corporation in America and beyond. And they do this using our money in things like retirement accounts, pension funds, IRAs, exchange traded funds, mutual funds, but most people don't actually know who owns and controls BlackRock. We all know that it was founded by Larry Fink, and he's the face of the company, but he does not control it. When you try to find out who does control it, you'll usually find this list, which is the top institutional shareholders. Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are right at the top, just like every other company. But this is not the whole story. Because if you dig deep enough, you'll find out that actually Merrill Lynch owns 45% of BlackRock. And they're considered an insider, so they don't show up on the top institutional holders list. This merger took place in 2006. So actually Merrill Lynch controls BlackRock in a big way. But who controls Merrill Lynch? Well, Merrill Lynch is actually a division of Bank of America because Bank of America bought them out during the 2008 financial collapse. So who owns Bank of America? Well, nowadays, Warren Buffett is the top shareholder of Bank of America because he owns Berkshire Hathaway, which is his billionaire investment firm. I'm still not sure what this top one is, this 25%. That's an anomaly, and I cannot corroborate what those shares are, but I found these shares. This is a screenshot from Berkshire Hathaway's 13F where they tell you all the things they hold, and I totaled up all of these Bank of America shares, and it equals 1,032,000,000 shares. That's 13% of Bank of America shares, equal to $33 billion. But I also dug in a little bit into where Bank of America came from and who founded them, and all modern banks are crazy histories of mergers and acquisitions and banks changing their names and merging with other banks, probably for no particular reason. But Bank of America traces its roots back in two different directions, one of which we're not going to talk about, and the other one is back to this Italian dude named Amadeo Giannini, who acquired what was then called Banca di America d'Italia. Sorry for that accent. Over the years, it changed its name to Bank America, and then in the biggest merger in history, merged with Charlotte-based Nation Bank in 1998. So I just thought it was interesting that half of the lineage of Bank of America was founded by this Italian dude that got really into Italian banking back in the early 1900s, you know, when like there was a certain Italian organization that was doing a lot of things with money back then. I'm sure it was all above board though, obviously. But anyways, back to the weird thing that I can't figure out. Bank of America owns Merrill Lynch, who owns the vast majority of BlackRock. But they don't have anyone on the board as far as I can tell. Usually, the biggest shareholders of a company have representatives on the board that sort of represent their investment. But I've just shown you the whole board of directors of BlackRock, and none of them have any real ties to Merrill Lynch or Bank of America, which seems pretty weird when you own almost half the company to not have any board members. The plot thickens. So two things. If you want to follow the history of Bank of America down the other trail, you might wind up at a certain family name that you aren't aware of that is really hard to find on the internet. That'll probably get videos taken down. Total conspiracy theories. And the other thing is, if anyone knows more than me or is literate in this or has info about why Merrill Lynch and Bank of America have no representatives on the board of BlackRock, I would love to know. After all, why would you own half of a company and then have no say in what that company's doing? Or how do they have a say? What's the story?
January 1st is a false New Year's. You're actually celebrating the Roman god Janus, who is the god of endings and beginnings. It's because he has two faces, one looking into the future and one looking into the past. On the first day of January, which was named after Janus, right? Janus, Romans would perform rituals and offer sacrifices to honor him, asking for blessings for the new year. This ritual further emphasizes Janus' association with beginnings and transitions. Not to mention, the real new year is in March or April, right? According to history.com. So for the Babylonians, the first new moon following the vernal equinox, the day in late March, with an equal amount of sunlight and darkness, heralded the start of the new year, right? So this is late March or early April. The early Roman calendar consisted of 10 months and 304 days, with each new year beginning at the vernal equinox, which was late March, early April. And over the centuries, the calendar fell out of sync with the sun. So to solve the problem, he consulted some prominent astronomers and mathematicians of his time. He then introduced the Julian calendar, which closely resembles the more modern Gregorian calendar that most countries around the world use today. As part of this reform, Caesar instituted January 1st as the first day of the year, partly to honor the month's namesake, Janus, the Roman god of beginnings whose two faces allowed him to look back into the past and forward into the future. Romans celebrated by offering sacrifices to Janus, exchanging gifts with one another, decorating their homes with laurel branches, and attending raucous parties. Sounds familiar. The real New Year also aligns with Exodus 12 verse 2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Right? It was called Nisan by the later Hebrews and nearly corresponds to our April. Right? God commanded his people to observe the Passover on the first month of the year, which is equivalent to April. Which is where we get April Fools from, because they fooled us all. Historians believe April Fool's Day has its origins in the 16th century when France switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. The Julian calendar began in March with the spring equinox and was celebrated until April 1st by switching to the Gregorian calendar. The new year would now begin on January 1st. April Fools, they tricked us all to not celebrate the actual new year. Instead, you're celebrating the pagan god Janus. I don't know about you guys, but I'll be going to bed early tonight and I will not be participating in this pagan ritual. Let me know what you guys think about this one. Don't forget.
Is it similar to the Halloween? Because I've seen there's a backstory to Halloween as well.
This has to be the quickest rise to fame since Andrew Tate. Bobby Alhoof is the host of the Really Good podcast, and it has gone extremely viral. Out of nowhere, she has interviewed some of the most famous people in the world, which has created a massive conspiracy, and even she is feeding into it. And honestly, her podcast is super unique, so I'm not by any means shaming her effort and the hard work she's put in. But listen to this clip in her most recent podcast. Is this the truth in plain sight, or is she just playing into it all?
An industry plan.
So what happened was I was at home like a few months ago and I was just sitting there and I got a call and then I also got a knock at the door at the same time and they were like, hello, we're the industry. And I was like, what does that mean? And they were like, you can't ask any questions. And I was like, okay. And they were like, you're gonna blow up, you just have to follow our lead and give us 78% of your money that you make from this. Very fair offer. And then they also said that I had to have
Very fair offer, 75% for them.
Yeah, because I wasn't making that much before.
Okay.
So it's like they're entitled to it. And I didn't ask any questions. They just said, you have to give us the next child you have too.
So that's like Illuminati thing.
Kind of, but it's the industry instead. And they planted me.
Pretty smart. She's referring to it as the industry.
Every time I went to the Grammys, I'm in a category with Eminem and Ja Rule, and these motherfuckers were killing this shit. Jay-Z, DMX, Luda's huge artists, but when it comes to these motherfuckers, I'm losing every motherfucking award, right?
You're not in Illuminati yet.
It's all good.
So there was a crossroads where we were both invited to an Illuminati thing, and it had to be one or the other of us, and decisions had to be made. So it was both of us, we were equal. One of us had to cut off all their hair and couldn't do the sideburn thing no more with the points. And the next person, they said, was going to get $200 million because they were going to pay him $10 million a movie to do 20 movies. And that's how the conversation happened. One of those persons turned out to be Ludacris, and the other person turned out to be Cat Williams.
Fatality.
Do you remember the monoliths back from 2020? There was the one that was found in Utah, and then one appeared in Romania, and then one showed up in California. A fourth one showed up in Las Vegas. And then after the Las Vegas one was the one in Great Britain. Those ones were the ones that got the most publicity, but there was another one found in New Mexico and in Canada, but there are even more than just these ones. And I know there was a YouTube group who said that they were the ones that built the monoliths and put them there. And then another group of artists came forward and said they were the ones who put the monoliths there. And it just seemed like everybody wanted to be responsible for the monoliths. And out of nowhere, the monoliths just vanished. It seems like there's hella people that stepped forward and said it was them and claimed responsibility, and multiple people had proof that they were the ones building them. I thought it was super weird when I was Googling it and trying to find any information, and it said 2016. Like, it was 2020 and then created in 2016. Any other information I tried to search for, it said that there was no answers. Like, something went wrong, something went wrong, something went wrong. So I'm like, what went wrong? Am I missing something, or is there something weird going on?
This right here is not what you think it is. Do not get duped by people selling it online. So this herb has been blowing up on social media recently. It's known as the Blue Lotus, and it's incredibly popular for its psychoactive properties. The problem is, this isn't the real Blue Lotus. So let me explain. As a trained herbalist, I'm very familiar with the different types of lotus and their common effects, like creating a sense of euphoria in the mind and reducing anxiety. And the ancient Egyptians spoke particularly about this flower right here, the blue lotus, which we know as Nymphaea cerulea, or the blue lotus of the Nile. To them, it symbolized the beginning of creation, and they commonly use it for their spiritual practices and wrote a lot about its intense effects. This is where its status as a legendary mythical flower began, and it's now been revered for thousands of years. As you can see from their depictions, it clearly has thin, pointy petals that are sky blue and fade to white. Now here's what everyone is selling online with the claim that it's genuine Egyptian blue lotus. This flower here has wide, round, purple petals and a giant stamen in the middle. Now, this is actually a purple Thai lotus that's been falsely advertised all over the internet as being genuine blue lotus. Here's a side-by-side comparison so you can clearly see that these are entirely different plants. The reason no one's recognizing this glaring difference is because the internet is just coated in misinformation about it. Even Googling blue lotus shows you mostly pictures of the wrong flower. And beyond that, this purple Thai lotus, like all lotus flowers, does have some psychoactive effects, although they are of course much milder than the true blue lotus. With all this confusion, tons of companies are getting away with mixing this cheap lotus species with all sorts of toxic fillers, and then passing it off as pure blue lotus oils and extracts. Now, as I said, I'm an herbalist, and if you're interested in the effects of the lotus, I definitely recommend trying the sacred pink lotus instead. It's much easier to find since it's the most common lotus for medicinal use, specifically for rebalancing the mind. Now, I personally infuse it into a potent oil so you can just rub it on instead of having to smoke it or make a tea out of it like with most flour. The link's in my bio if you want to try it out, but regardless, now you know, if you want the true mythical blue lotus, you're most likely going to have to grow it yourself because nearly all of the blue lotus sold online is fake.
Obviously a ton of conspiracies about Michael Jackson, but in my opinion one of the most interesting ones, if not a little ridiculous, is that this is what he actually looked like. Hear me out. On January 27, 1984, Michael Jackson was shooting a Pepsi commercial at LA's Shrine Auditorium. Everything was going great until the 6th take when the pyrotechnics malfunctioned, causing his head to be engulfed by a fireball on camera in front of 3,000 fans. Now, he likely couldn't feel it at first, but as he made his way down the stairs onto the stage, it didn't take long for the stagehands to realize he was on fire. Aaron Faye, his hair and makeup artist at the time, said, quote, "This was someone I knew and he was on fire. By the time I got to him, all of his hair was gone and there was smoke coming out of his head." According to the hospital, Michael suffered second and third degree burns across his head and face. In 1992, the music video director that was filming his tour, Rudy Dolezal, was told that Jackson refused to appear on camera on days that he wasn't performing because on those days he didn't have a nose. Rudy went on to tell the New York Post that Jackson needed a prosthetic nose that took hours to put on using makeup and putty. In 2002, rumors were running rampant in the tabloids that what was left of Jackson's nose cartilage had completely collapsed. So what's the conspiracy, man? I couldn't figure out what it was used for, but there is footage of Michael Jackson being made up to look like an old man using makeup and prosthetics, and it's very convincing. Then there's also this Akon interview where Akon describes going to the movies with Michael Jackson and being shocked when he got there and a complete stranger walked up to him and started talking in Michael's voice because it was Michael, but he was absolutely unrecognizable. The theory being that nobody really knew what Michael Jackson looked like anymore because the Michael Jackson that was famous was just a mask. Now this is a real man named Dave. A victim of horrible burns when he was young, and Michael Jackson just kind of took an interest in him and took care of him. So at first when I was reading about this, I was like, okay, case closed, that's a different guy. But the theory points out that Dave suddenly became a lot more public and his appearance kind of changed after Michael Jackson's death, insinuating that Jackson didn't pass away in 2009 but instead resumed living under various assumed identities, easily fooling the world because nobody had really known what he looked like since the 80s.
Doesn't scare me, but you know what does? The royal family. So Princess Diana was killed in a car accident 1 year after her divorce from Charles, and the circumstances of her death are a bit fishy. She passed away in the car with her boyfriend who was going to propose to her that night, apparently, Dodi Al-Fayed. The theory is that the royal family wanted to stage the car accident because they didn't want her to marry him. Dodi's father believes that they were killed because the royal monarchy could not stand the idea of Diana and Prince Charles' sons having him as their stepfather because he was Egyptian and Muslim. People also believe that she was pregnant with Dodi's son when the crash occurred. Dodi's father says that without a shadow of a doubt in his mind that it was assassination. There's even more evidence that suggests that this is true. I'm gonna post a part 2. It's already up. I got you. Also, I don't wish any harm to anyone. Obviously, this is just a conspiracy theory that I was requested to talk about.
No, y'all, because that looks like a mask. Like, that doesn't even look like a real person. It's giving uncanny valley vibes, like, for real. Because that's P. Diddy. Where are all his freckles and moles? There's not even light in these eyes. It really looks like a mask. Again, like, that is not the same person. It looks a lot like him. But yeah, I agree. I don't think that's him. This happened with Kanye a while back, and it's going on with Kate Middleton right now. I mean, I thought it was known that these people had clones. We've seen pictures of these people throughout history. That's a clone. Yeah, that is not him. I mean, they let P. Diddy go to jail. Y'all tell me what you think about this, because look at this man. That is not P. Diddy. I'm sorry. That almost looks like AI or something.
Conspiracy theories that everyone knows is true, part 1. Everyone knows the story of the man that invented an engine that ran on nothing but water that supposedly was able to go 845 miles between fill-ups. Somebody from the oil and gas industry got upset and got this guy whacked off basically in broad daylight. They poisoned him and found unalived. I'm going to take it a step further on this. Not only do I think oil and gas industries are doing everything they can to stop people from inventing things like this, I think they're also stopping the advancement of just regular combustion engines and their mileage. I find it very strange that outside of going to a hybrid or an electric vehicle, that the overall gas mileage of engines really has not changed in many, many decades. Considering how much things have gotten advanced in everything else in society, I don't think it's really that possible that there's no way big companies like Toyota or Honda or Ford can't find a way to have an engine that's not a hybrid or electric that can add more mileage to a vehicle. But everyone knows this is true, and this is another thing that nobody steps up and does anything about because they're scared they're also going to go get whacked off.
Has Kanye West been cloned? If you've been on TikTok for all of 5 seconds, you've probably heard this Kanye West conspiracy theory stating that the rapper has actually been replaced with a clone. But where does the conspiracy come from? The answer, surprisingly, is that it originates from Kanye West himself. West is no stranger to controversy or sometimes off-the-wall remarks, and this recent freestyle of his is no exception.
The phony will clone me. Just watch how they clone me.
But that's not all. People have taken to social media with height comparisons of Kanye and various celebrities before and after the supposed cloning took place. West's height is 5'8", and here he is with his former wife, Kim Kardashian, who is 5'2". West's new wife, Bianca Censori, is purportedly only 1 inch shorter than him at 5'7", but there are multiple photographs showing Censori who looks much shorter than West wearing heels, even while he's more or less barefoot. But the rumors don't end there. West's general appearance and strange new habit of wearing upper body padding has sparked some unusual headlines along with his strange new fashion choices. And the rapper himself keeps making strange allusions to other celebrities and various pop culture conspiracy theories.
Do you know the first time I ever took medication, why I was? Because I got mad at paparazzi.
I'm so sorry.
You know what paparazzi was?
No.
The same one that shot Britney.
No.
We ain't going nowhere, baby.
You've been here for years.
And if I ever went anywhere, we know why. You understand what I'm saying?
West and Censori also made headlines after West's recent attack on the brand Balenciaga for its recent highly controversial and incredibly shady ad campaign, only to show up shopping at a Balenciaga store. Definitely an unusual 180 to make after coming out so hard against the brand. So, is all this just West's attempt to stay in the headlines or something more sinister? I'll let you be the judge, but I'd love to know what you think. Is Kanye West a clone, or is this all just one big publicity stunt?
Amanda Bynes used to have these piercings, and now the talk of the town is that she's not really Amanda Bynes because there's no scars. So kind of way back when, Amanda used to have 2 piercings on her cheeks, and it's not like an ear piercing that's gonna close up. To basically get them out, you need a surgical procedure to take them out, like a doctor has to do it under surgery. And like the piercing's super cute, but when you look at her video, she doesn't have any scars. And you think maybe her skin just healed naturally, but there are before and after photos, so this is someone who also had the same exact piercing. They got it stitched up, there's a scar. and then you can kind of see a little bit of the scar residue. So basically exhibit A and then exhibit B. I mean, the scar is not there, but you can kind of see it. Another good example is Black China. She had the same exact piercing, and in this photo you can see where it like was. So close up, here's the piercing, and then you can see it right there, right? Because the piercing goes all the way through the cheek, it's like the scar is gonna be worse than if you were to just take out an earring. So with other people having this type of scar after having that piercing surgically removed, people are saying Amanda's not Amanda because she doesn't have the scar. In all of her videos, it just looks like a smooth cheek. And with Amanda's TikTok content, she just seems a little bit out of it. Like here's one.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to make a post to let you guys know that I'm gonna start wearing wigs now. I absolutely love this wig, and I just want to let you guys know that my hair was growing out so awkwardly that I absolutely hated it, so I'm totally gonna be wearing wigs now. I have another one that's blonde and blue. It's super cute, and I'm gonna get more. I hope you guys like it. Let me know what you think.
I think Amanda probably just has really nice skin, so it healed well. But everyone now is really talking about cloning and how celebrities have been cloned, and it's just the talk of the town now.
So if Amanda's not Amanda, then who basically is Amanda? Or they just cloned Amanda?
Barbie is a genetically modified clone that operates within a larger decentralized hive mind to achieve a goal across thousands, potentially millions of years. It has to be operating as part of a larger decentralized hive mind that can still be considered a single organism. Barbie. Barbie's immediate family unit of 4 sisters is a means to train and grow more Barbie. You're not seeing a group of 4 sisters, you're seeing the growth cycle of a series of Barbie clones being trained. That's why it's a decentralized hive mind, as each member maintains some level of autonomy while still operating within a system. It's the final Barbie movie in the true continuity of its lore is Barbie's Starlight Adventure. This is the end of the movie. She travels to the center of the universe to complete the task the hive mind had set out long ago to complete, to reignite the universe in Barbie's own image, becoming a cosmic princess and ascending to godhood.
That is now a creepy conspiracy, or should I say a meme.
Have you seen the theory about clocks? No. So when you look at a clock, it looks pretty normal. You never think anything of it. But what if I told you there's actually a really dark theory behind the idea of a clock? What? Right, and you go across the clock, across the way, you see like 11 and 1, it equals 12. 10 and 2 equals 12. 9 and 3 equals 12. 8 and 4 equals 12. 7 and 5 equals 12. And then 6 plus 6 equals 12. They all equal 12.
Wait, what does that mean though?
Well, also think about this. When you go diagonally and look at the numbers and you subtract it, like 12 minus 6 equals 6. 11 minus 5 equals 6. 10 minus 4 equals 6.
Wait, what is going on?
But wait, if you look at this a different way too, if you look across, 12 plus 1 equals 13. 11 and 2 equals 13. 10 and 3 equals 13. 9 and 4 equals 13. It all equals 13.
So what's the theory?
You look at all the numbers, right? It's just weird how you go different formulations and they all equal the same.
That's actually kind of scary.
I don't really want to get into like the exact thing that I saw, but it is weird how everything, equals the same. Comment if you guys know what that is. Dude, I don't know. I don't want to say.
You need to hear this crazy conspiracy about iPhones. Have you ever thought about why an iPhone has its name? Some people think when Apple says I, it literally means I. iPhones are watching us, listening to us, and seeing everything we're doing. And some people have this link to the Illuminati. Don't believe me? What's Siri spelled backwards?
IRIS. Iris. Siri. That is creepy. iPhone is watching us. Be careful.